Hey everybody, it's me, Jessica, your fitness program manager from McLean. Looking forward to guiding you through today's yin yoga practice that's all about making ourselves more happy. Who wouldn't love that? We're going to get started in just about 3 minutes. I do encourage you to bring a block or two to today's class, especially if you already know that your hips are tight, that your hamstrings are tight, if doing a squat is uncomfortable for you, if doing a forward fold is a challenge to reach the floor. Bring those props. We're going to use them. We're going to get started in just a couple moments from a kneeling position. If kneeling really doesn't work for you, then find whatever seated position does work. Oh my gosh, the work never ends, y'all. The work never ends. But we're going to take a break for this class. So I hope that you're ready to treat yourself to some gentle, slow movement because I got to tell you, I'm ready to treat myself. And we're worth it. We're worth it, everybody. Ah. Make sure you're wearing something comfortable. I'm going to take a moment before we get started to do my least favorite thing, which is tucking my tank top into my pants. Oh, I feel so far away from the camera also, but I'm just going to gently bring this forward as much as I can. Okay, we're going to do our best. Okay, great. Got my shirt tucked in like a winner. Got the class notes. Got my coffee. I'm ready. Are you? Cool. Let's let's do this, everyone. All right, so we're starting in a kneeling position today. We're going to be in this kneeling position for just about 3 minutes to get started. If you already noticed that this is challenging and like you're fidgeting, I encourage you to either use a prop if you have a block. Sitting on the block can give a little bit of a lift, be a little bit less pressure, which can already start to feel a little bit better. Or maybe you take your socks and you place your socks right behind the back of your legs, which can also help to release any pressure. And from here, we're just going to breathe. So find a place to relax your hands. Maybe you want to bring your hands to heart center. I'm going to keep my hands relaxed on my legs. Remember that if your eyes are moving, your mind is moving. So either finding that one spot ahead of you to focus your eyes or simply closing them. Relax into your breath. Notice how you're breathing today. Are you already taking some long, slow, deep breaths? Are they reaching the very bottom of your diaphragm and belly? Or are you feeling stressed and are you breathing a little bit more in your chest? When you inhale, do your shoulders come up to your ears? That's a really big sign of stress. Not telling you that you need to make any changes if that's what's happening, but I want you to think towards the idea of just being a little bit more relaxed in your body, in your breath, and especially in your mind. We've got just about one more minute here in our warm up. Give yourself some grace and kindness if coming right into the stillness has been a challenge for you. We've got a delightful 42 more minutes to just relax or hang out here for as much time as you do happen to have today. Now let's really start to use our breath to help enhance and encourage your relaxation. So on your inhale, simply notice how your body is feeling. Do you have those shoulders that are rising because your breath is tense? Are you scrunching your face at all? Are you making a fist with your hands? Are you doing anything with your toes or squeezing your glutes in a way that you don't need? So use your inhales now and through the rest of class to notice how your body is feeling and use your exhale to let it go. Just work to let go of all those thoughts, feelings, sensations, and things that don't serve you, that don't make you feel better, and work to create a little bit more space. All right. For our first really active passive asana of the day, we're going to come into toe stretch. You're welcome to keep this block underneath of you. If you want, I'm going to remove the block, but I'm going to keep it nearby. All right, so coming into toe stretch. Pardon me for wearing socks today. It's very cold in here. Tuck in those toes under. I'm getting as much of the meat of my toes on the floor as possible. The more you sit yourself up, the more challenging it's going to be. So I'm going to use these blocks in front of me to just gently relax. We've got 2 minutes here. You should feel a big stretch along the back of your feet, but ask yourself, how can you relax your upper body? So even if you're leaning on a prop, or if maybe you have your hands down on the floor, which is going to be a little less challenging, think about whether you're like muscling it out at all through that upper body and really work to keep the focus on your lower half. Keep your breath slow and steady. Remember, if your eyes are moving, your mind is moving. Inhaling, we're just being aware of how our body feels. Exhale, let it go. We're almost done. I know that you can stick with it. I recognize that this might be a little uncomfortable. If your stretch goes from being uncomfortable to being truly painful, that's the time where you're going to gently back your way out and find a new place that you can relax. Otherwise, ask yourself, can you just hang out for another breath or two? Just keep reevaluating to work towards that stillness. All right, let's untuck our toes. Go ahead, tap them on the floor. Next up, we're going to go for an ankle stretch. So remove any prop, no sitting on props for this next one. We're going to come into that kneeling position. If the floor feels very far away from you, behind you, maybe you bring some blocks behind you. And here we're just going to gently lift those knees up off of the floor for a nice little ankle stretch. So I'm pressing the tops of my feet down. I'm taking a little stretch through the knees. The quads are gently engaged as well. Remember, focus or close your eyes. More than halfway through this ankle stretch. Awesome. Start to walk your hands forward. So we were warming up our toes, warming up our ankles, because next time we're coming into my favorite stretch for desk people. It's a dangle. I'm having some trouble today with my phone charging. And I'm really concerned that we're going to lose each other in a couple minutes. So let's do the best that we can. So we're taking this nice big dangle. We're relaxing through that upper body as much as possible. We've got a total of 2 more minutes right here in this dangle. See if you can create a little extra space in that upper back and keep the stretch along the back of your legs. Really enjoy some long, slow, deep breaths as you're breathing, and you have this forward hinge and presumably belly pressed against your thighs, or you're working towards that. Think about feeling the back of your rib cage expand on each inhale and contract on the exhale. 1 minute left. So while we store a lot of emotions in our hips, which might be surprising to some, hips, hamstrings, low back are all connected. Make sure you do have a little gentle engagement of that abdominal core while you're folded over so that your back does continue to feel good. But relax through your upper body as much as you can. And next up, we're going to come into my other favorite desk people, hip opener. It's a squat. So heel toe your feet out about mat width distance apart. I have my toes pointed out at a 45-degree angle and the heels in, and I'm carefully starting to lower myself into a squat. We're going to be here for 2 minutes, a little bit less time than we were totally in that dangle. And you can hang out here and stay lifted, or you can do the yin thing and make it easy on yourself and sit down on your block using your elbows. They can gently start to open those inner thighs, and you can relax that upper body. Do your best as we breathe through these postures to be in the here and the now. As other thoughts start to come into your head, take a moment, recognize them. It's very normal to have those outwardly thoughts outside of your practice. But this is a great time to really notice how frequently that happens and do your best to just come back to being present. If you still find yourself really distracted by things you have to do today, fears, happiness, whatever, if you're anywhere besides this squat, take the time to tune into your breath a little bit more. Maybe that means counting the length of your inhale, counting the length of your exhale. I know for me, that helps me stay in the moment. And also remember, this is yoga practice. It is not yoga perfect. So do the best you can with the body you have today. If you just keep coming in time, the focus becomes a little easier. All right. I hope that you did use your prop to help you in this awesome hip opener. Let's make our way down to the floor. We're going to start in tabletop. Next up is puppy pose, a little opening of that upper back and chest. I know puppy pose can be challenging, so think about bringing your prop with you and starting off in tabletop with your hips stacked on top of your heels. You're going to start to walk your hands forward and bring your chest down to the mat, or maybe a block, or maybe your stack of blocks. I'm going to stay pretty lifted today. Just find what works for that upper body. Normally, I would have both of my hands forward. That's just a little too much on my shoulder that is still unfortunately hurting. So feel free to make any adjustments such that this works for you. The goal right now, though, is to still keep those hips nice and high, stacked above the knees the best that you can, and your chest is just coming down towards the mat. Maybe your forehead's touching the mat. Maybe you're getting a little extra stretch by stretching your eyes, nose, chin forward. We'll spend one more minute right here in our puppy pose before we release fully down towards the mat to get in a little love for our lower back. Dial back into just your breath, being present in this moment. Releasing that upper body as much as you can. All right, next up is Sphinx pose. Keep props nearby. We're gonna wiggle our way down onto our bellies. So walk your legs out carefully behind you. If you're like me and feeling any discomfort in your shoulders, having these elbows really close in and under them might be a lot. So perhaps you rest your chin on a block, or open your arms a little bit wider is also an option. I'm still going to use this block and keep my head lifted and chin up, but I want you to come into the Sphinx pose that works for you. So maybe you decide that you want to have your chin tucked towards your chest to get a little bit more of a stretch through the upper back shoulders. Having my chin forward, I'm getting a little bit more of the stretch in my low back, and I like it. So just find something that makes you happy right now, because that's what today's class is all about. That happiness. We'll spend one more minute here in Sphinx, and then we'll get back to some focused hip openers. All right, if you were using a prop, we're going to take our props and completely move them out of the way for a moment. Go ahead, fold your hands palms, turn them into a pillow for your forehead, bend your knees, and windshield wipe through. Getting a little bit of yang in our yin class here, finding a little bit more movement just to relieve any tension that might have built up on your lower back. Next up, we're gonna get back into those hips. We've got frog pose, but we're gonna be cool. And we're gonna do half frog pose at a time. Your choice which leg you'd like to start with. Go ahead, draw one leg up and create as many 90-degree angles as you can. So think about what's happening with the top of your foot and your shin. Think about what's happening with the back of your calf and your hamstring. Think about what's happening with the top of your thigh and the side of your body.
You might find that it's hard to relax on the floor. This is a great opportunity to use your t-shirts, your towels, whatever else you might have brought to class today to just stuff under your body to find a little bit of extra support because we're going to hang out for 2 minutes each side for this half frog. And then we're going to come into a nice frog-inspired child's pose. While you're here, begin that total body scan, top of your head all the way to the toes. Even start making sure you're relaxing your hair. You're relaxing your ears and your tongue. Take any clench out of your jaw. Relax your neck and your chest. Truly working to melt into the mat as much as possible. You should be feeling that opening of the hip. And that's the sensation that we're focusing on, and everything else just is. Create as much relaxation everywhere else that you can. Make sure you're not tensing through your toes or your glutes. You know where those spots are that you presumably bring your tension back. Everyone holds it someplace different. So just continue to check in with yourself throughout class and let it go. All right, let's move with intention. Go ahead. Bring your two legs together. Take a moment to reset. Just laying on your belly in a little alligator pose. And then bring that opposite leg up. Come into your frog, half frog from the other side. Let's move a little away from the wall. Start with your feet. Get that 90-degree angle with the top of your feet and your shin. Create as close to a 90-degree angle as you can between the back of your shin and your hamstring. And then think about the top of your thigh and the side of the body. And just relax. Tune back into your breath. Make sure the stretch is not so intense that it's inhibiting your inhale and exhale. Check in with your head and your heart. I hope they're feeling light. I hope you're staying present. Reminder to let those outwardly thoughts and fears know that they're on hold for the moment. All right, let's go ahead and bring those two legs together. This time, bring your hands, palms underneath of your chest. We're going to press ourselves up. You can press yourself right onto your knees. Open those knees as wide as you can, a little wider than usual. We're working to come closer towards our inner thighs for a frog version of child's pose. And because this is a little bit more intense, I'm going to bring a block, got that block underneath of my belly to focus on opening those inner thighs, feeling that once again big time in your hip. We're going to spend 2 minutes, just like we did for the other frog postures, right here. Remember, if the stretch becomes too much, if you find that you're endlessly fidgeting, back out a little bit. Find a place that you can find that stillness, even if it means you need to come to a regular child's pose. Breath first, stillness second, depth third. Also, fear not, I got a teeny little movement break coming up for you after this one. So just hang out for one more minute. How many breaths does it take you to get to the end of this minute? Let's find out. That's a minute. How many breaths did it take you? It took me 3, just like getting to the center of a Tootsie Roll Pop. All right, we're going to come into down dog. So carefully take your time, walk everything in. Coming through tabletop, tuck your toes under, send your hips up towards the ceiling, pedal through your heels. Ugh. Pedal through your heels, find that nice little arch of that lower back as you really bring your belly towards your thighs. Maybe you feel your stomach even start to get a little stimulated here as we find that nice stretch and stimulation of the shoulders. We're going to use this down dog to help us get into our next posture, whichever leg you'd like to start with. You know, I always like to do anything that really stimulates the belly with that right leg first. So we get our ascending colon before we get our descending colon. But do what feels right. All right. Ideally, keeping your left leg planted. We're going to inhale that right leg all the way up towards the ceiling, still hips and chest staying square towards the mat. Shift the weight forward. Draw that knee forward. We're going to release it down and come into pigeon. So walk your opposite leg back. As you come into this pigeon, you're thinking about bringing your extended leg behind you's hip flexor to the mat as opposed to bringing your opposite leg glute. And I'm going to use these props on the floor to help me relax into this. You can be a super upright pigeon or you can be a sleeping swan. I do wonder why they say pigeon or swan. Are sleeping pigeons just like dead? I don't know. You know what? You be whatever kind of bird that you want to be and use your breath to take you far, far away from here. 1 minute left. Almost all of our postures today are just a nice little 2-minute hold. I meant to say 3 minutes for this one, but you know what? I think 2 minutes is perfect and it's going to give us plenty of time to relax our way through to the end of the class. Find that relaxation in your upper body shoulders. Make sure you're not applying too much pressure through your forearms down to the mat, focusing mostly on this opening of the hip of the extended leg behind you. Maybe you feel a little stretch in your bent knee glute. It all just is going to depend on how tight your body is. But the good news is, however tight your body is, we're working to create that openness right now.
All right, keep this front leg bent. So if we're working the same, right leg stays bent, pressing yourself up, you can start to sit on that right glute, and we're gonna bend the left leg to come into a nice little deer pose. So a little 90-90 with both legs at the same time. Now you wanna try and bring that back glute down to the floor. 2 minutes right here. Just breathe through it, really feeling that opening once again of this hip flexor. If that feels too much for you, bringing this back leg in a little closer, heel closer towards the glute, takes a little bit of the pressure towards the outside of the hip away. And if your glute's like super far from the floor, this is when you shove your socks or your t-shirt or your towel under that glute to help you find that support. Just breathe. Oh my gosh, that was so awesome. All right, let's come on back through. Bring your hands down to the floor, tuck your back toe under, send your right leg to meet with your left, or if you did opposite, left leg to meet with the right. We'll come into down dog one more time. Pedal through those heels. Get that stretch in your calves. We don't have a lot of calf stretching options today. Take 2 more super slow breaths here in this down dog. This is your yang posture, so feel free to get that movement, get your spilkies out, and then inhale your opposite leg up towards the ceiling. With that leg still lifted, we start to shift forward, draw your knee towards your elbow, place the toes down on the floor, walk your other leg back, coming into pigeon on the other side. Remember, both sides are different. Maybe you don't need as many props on this side. I'm going to use them because it feels good. I can tell that this side of the body is a little bit tighter. It was a lot harder to work towards having the shin parallel with the top of the mat. It does not need to be though. The most important thing is that you're not working to sit on the glute of your bent forward leg. You're working to get the hip flexor of your extended leg closer towards the mat. Find some relaxation in your upper body. We got another minute right here. Check back in with your long, slow, deep breaths. Still using your inhale to scan yourself from head to toe. Still using that exhale to just relieve the tension. Like you're blowing it away into the nothingness. Okay, carefully lift yourself up. Bring yourself onto that front leg glute. Bend the opposite leg. Getting into that 90-90 on the other side. How much can you really take the forward push out and relax that glute down on the floor? Just something to try. Still thinking about those 90-degree angles that you're working to create, especially with your ankles and chin. And remember, if it's too much, you can bring that back foot in, turns it a little bit more into a quad stretch instead of an exterior hip opener. Keep breathing, just keep being. See if you can even bring a smile to your face right now. Do you still have that gentle smile on your face? I hope so. I hope you realize how amazing you are. I know that these days we don't all hear it as often. I know I don't. I tell my dog so many times throughout the day that I love him. And then I like to say, "Did you know I love you?" To which I reply, "Of course you do. I tell you like 12,000 times a day." But if you don't have someone telling you 12,000 times a day or even once that they love you, I hope you know that I really do appreciate you. I'm going to stop talking because it makes me emotional. All right, so we're going to gently come out of this one. This time, instead of pressing up into a down dog, we're going to carefully work to swing both of our legs forward to get a nice little straight leg stretch. So the first thing I did as I brought my legs forward was just kind of adjusted my glutes to get a nice little hinge from the hips instead of a uncomfortable rounding. So working to bring belly towards your thighs. If that is uncomfortable for you, I want you to take a little bend of your knees, bringing belly towards your thighs, and gently forward fold here. Maybe you have a flat back and that's what feels right for your body today. Maybe you're going for a little bit of rounding, some sort of a caterpillar here. We got 1 minute in the stretch. In fact, if you need to, feel free to use those props. Maybe you even rest your head on your block. But if your lower back is hurting, keep that length in your spine instead of the forward fold. So maybe you barely folded forward and you're just working to straighten that leg, or you have that slight bend in your knee to honor your body today. Taking about 2 more slow breaths here. If you did take any sort of a forward hinge on your next inhale, find some length, and on your exhale, lift yourself up. All right. Prop still close by. We got one more hip opener, and it is butterfly. So bring the soles of your feet together. If you notice that your knees are coming all the way up towards your shoulders, that's normal. And if that's the case, though, I want you to take your props and place them as close as you need to underneath of your legs to find some support so that you're muscling through it a little bit less. And if you're feeling pretty open, maybe your blocks are really far away. And if the outer edges of those legs are touching the floor, maybe no blocks at all, maybe just using that your pillow or your rolled up t-shirt. If you need to, you can have your hands behind you, which also helps you to take the stress out of your back and focus on opening the hips. And if that's not enough of a stretch, then you get to forward fold. We're going to spend 2 minutes right here. And then we're going to lay down on our backs. Give ourselves some real love and kindness with a nice little spine twist before our final Savasana. Can you believe that we're already that close to the end of class? If you've had your eyes open the whole class, now that you know what's coming, I encourage you to close them. I know when I first started doing yoga and the teacher would be like, "Close your eyes," I would be like, "What? Look at all these weirdos closing their eyes." That wasn't a very good way to think about things. That didn't serve me very well. But honestly, it was just because I was uncomfortable. And it's normal for yoga and for these stretches to be uncomfortable. In fact, the whole point of this class is to push ourselves to an edge. We're working to find that little edge between nothing and being uncomfortable, and then working to stay there and making sure that uncomfortable doesn't mean painful, but continuing to create a noticeable stretch and then stillness. All right, inhale, lift yourself up if you folded forward. Take your time with control. We're going to lay down on our backs. Keep those props nearby because you might decide that you want to use your prop in your spine twist, especially if your hips are really tight. So carefully lowering yourself down one vertebrae at a time. Relax your upper body on the floor. Open your chest. Open those shoulders. Melt those shoulders into the mat. Take a generous bend of your knees, starting with that lower back down on the mat. So core is gently drawn in to have that lower back down on the mat. We're going to press into our feet, lift ourselves up, roll over onto one hip, and allow knees to drop over to the side. Can you keep your opposite shoulder on the floor? You can still work to find relaxation in your hips by bringing that block either between your legs, or maybe if your legs came nowhere near the floor, placing a block under your legs, or maybe you did both. We got 1 minute here. You can keep it easy and passive, look in the same direction of your knees. You can make it a little bit more active, bringing your neck to the party and looking in the opposite direction. All right, let's remove that prop if you were using one. Carefully roll over onto your back again. Take a moment grounding both feet down on the floor, grounding your lower back with the mat, coming back into that engagement of your core. And then we're going to roll to the opposite side. So pressing those feet down, lifting up, rolling onto your hip, and allowing the knees to drop to the opposite side. Remember, you have the option to bring that block to the party. Do what feels right with your arms. This is your class. This is your practice. So it doesn't matter what anyone else is doing, whether you're here for the whole 45 minutes or you just came for two. Maybe you followed along with me the whole class, or maybe I said something that just inspired you to find your own stretch and movement, and that's awesome too. In fact, that's one of my favorite things about classes from home is it's not a distraction to really honor yourself. Let's take two more breaths right here. And after that second breath, carefully make your way onto your back one more time. We're going to come into final savasana. I know if your hips are really tight and your lower back is hurting, think about keeping your knees bent, even tenting your knees here for this final savasana. If it feels good, you can extend your legs all the way up.
Feel free to open your arms nice and wide or keep your hands close to center, maybe one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly. We got 3 minutes left, and we're going to hang out here in this final savasana, your last chance to create stillness together. And you're encouraged to stay here for as long as feels right for you. If you have more than 3 minutes, if you can take 5 minutes, if you can take 8 minutes here in your stillness, do it for yourself. However you finish class, let it be intentional. Don't rush off of your mat. We'll enjoy these last 2 minutes in complete silence and hopefully complete stillness. Oh, I can tell we all really got that awesome stillness together. As I said before, you're welcome to stay here in this final savasana as long as honors you. If you would like to make your way to a seated position and close class together, just continue to move with intention and find a seated position of your choice. When you get there, bring a smile to your face. Let's inhale our arms all the way up overhead. Palms come together and exhale. Hands come down to heart center. Take a moment, tuck your chin to your chest, bow to, and honor yourself because you are amazing. I hope you feel it now even more than you might have before. If you have any questions or concerns about anything I said or we did today, I know you'll reach out. Till we are together again, think good thoughts, speak good words, eat good foods, do good deeds, take the time to nourish yourself from the inside out. And always remember that the light within me honors, sees, is so thankful for, and yes, loves the light within you. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and let us say namaste.